Good morning.
So
Good morning.
We really should have just started with that.
We
If
should
I
have
was
just
going
started
to
with that.
teach
But I figured out some
how to
customers
just
that
make some money in real estate, I would start here.
Yeah.
And then cut to an intro where it's like us being like on a beach running.
Well, give us the title, because we were having some discourse back and forth.
We were.
Yeah.
So today, the number one key to success, no matter what stage you're at in your real estate business.
Mm-hmm.
Dun dun dun. And this is all predicated
we're just gonna leave.
not this Labor Day weekend, but the weekend before. We were at your lake house spending time with some of the top agents in the country, hanging out, and we spent the majority of the weekend sharing
working ladies. That's for our wives.
Working very hard, very hard.
Yeah.
Eating restaurants that serve great food.
Yeah, very difficult. Missed home cooking.
We were talking extensively on like frustration points of like, okay, we're never going to be able to make every single agent in the country that gets licensed successful, right? But how can you make more of them the successful? Like, what are the keys, right? And we went through all kinds of stuff. And so I think we actually just kind of nailed this down right before we came on of like what the one was, right? Like what
we went over in the meeting and kind of the consensus that we came to. But I was pushing back with you, because I was like, listen, if I was going to help somebody, you know what I mean? No matter what business they're in, the number one key to success is not literally what we came up with just for agents. It's what I was taught, and these things aren't mine, right? I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, but they're mental models and how to think. And what made you start this is because I was going off on a tangent. I was like, you know what, they teach you how to think, but they teach you how to think inaccurately, right? And I was getting passionate, so I dropped a couple of cuss words. I was like, listen, here's the truth. I know, right? Like I try not to cuss. I don't know if my nephews watch this. You know, someday my son might. You know, I don't want to give them the wrong idea. And anyway, but my point there was they teach us how to think inaccurately, and I was going into the term hard-earned dollar, right? Like why does it have to be hard-earned? Who's the one who said that? You know, a lot of the things that they don't teach us are equally as important. And so these mental models are what shifted the way that I think about things. And I'm just going to spit some of them off. So one of them that I like to use, and I was talking to one of our sales guys yesterday, is keep your mind on what you want and off of what you don't want. It sounds so simple, it just goes over your head. You don't even take the time to really digest it or create an awareness of it, right? But like what you want is very important. The world is putting in your face all these things that you don't want, right? Like all this bipartisanship right now, shutdowns, right? Negativity, the economy, the stock market. I mean, I watch the stock market every day, Jake. I don't even have a stock. Why in the hell? What's the stock market every day? I can't not, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it's a litmus test to how everybody else is feeling as far as the markets are concerned. But what I want are the goals that I have, and keeping my mind off those in the face of adversity, right? When bad things happen that I don't want to have happen, and staying the course is the hardest thing that I don't have these mastered by any means, but just having an awareness is, I feel like, the majority of the battle. So constantly keeping my mind on what I want and off of what I don't want is the saying. The next one that I really love is every adversity has with it the seed of equal or greater benefit. And I leave the seed of equal or greater out. I just say every adversity has with it equal or greater benefit. So anytime I have a problem come up, I'm like, okay, what's the benefit? At a minimum, what did I learn, right? So we always talk about failure, fail fast, fail forward, fail quickly, get it over with, right? So that you can learn and get on to, hopefully some success. The light bulb. How many times did he try the light bulb before he finally found the actual, right?
An absurd amount.
Yeah, it was an absurd amount. And they're like, oh, how does it feel to fail, 999 times? You're like, I didn't fail. I just learned that many times on how not to do it, right? So that's a mindset. That's a mental model. That's how you're taught to think, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad says, instead of I can't afford it, how can I afford it, right? So that started to really shift my mindset when I would see, nice things at Lake of the Ozarks, like those giant boats that we just saw last weekend. I would look at those and I would stare over the dock. I'd be like, man, I didn't say, how can I afford it? I said, someday I'm going to figure out how to afford it. I'm going to figure out how to afford one of those, because it can't, everybody has one, so it must be possible, you know?
Very
Yeah,
possible.
and expand your paradigm, expand your thinking. And so those are just some of the mental models that are important as far as the way of thinking is concerned, financially and in business, as far as success goes. And I felt like with that title, it would be irresponsible to not mention mental models. Now, there's a lot of them that are equally as good, if not better. And you know, I if I had something specifically come up, right, that was contextual, I would go to a mental model as far as how to think through it. And it's just, it's a fantastic thing. I was raised like this. You know, my dad had them all around his office, right? Success is achieved by those who try and keep trying. A lot of Napoleon Hill stuff, you know. I mean, just you think of these things, and a lot of times people hear them, and all they can think of is the Saturday Night Live skit, you know, and now deep thoughts with Stuart Smalley, you know,
Right?
and they make fun of him, but why? Why? Well, because they were taught to make fun of them. They were taught to think that those things were silly, but they're not silly. The only difference between literally, in my experience, people who have success and people who don't are the way that they think. That's it. It's between the ears, because we've all been blessed to be, you know, over here in America, right? We have all these opportunities. Most of us have 10 fingers, 10 toes, and symmetrical faces. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the requisite. You know, if you got those things, then you don't have a lot of adversity necessarily, and you have the ability to have the same amount of success. If they can have it, why not you? Right? That's another mental model that I always have. You know, like if they're making that stuff for people, why can't they make? Why can't I have one? You know? Right? Seriously, and I know it's silly, but it really is. It's the difference, and sometimes I have to check myself. You know, like I said, I was having a conversation with one of our sales guys, and I was thinking to myself in the shower this morning. I was like, man, I need to take a little amount of advice. I need to stretch my paradigm as far as um, what's possible and what are musts versus what are shoulds, right? Like as far as income is concerned, I don't. There's another mental model, so that brings another one. Man's greatness is not measured by the vastness of his possessions, but by the fewness of his wants, right? And so for me, like part of my problem is I don't have a lot of wants necessarily, right? Like I have a lot of the things that I want, and Terry, and uh, more.
Mikey,
You have
you
the
there?
ability to the ability to but anyway, mental model, but we wanted the one that, yeah, can you, hey,
You're like you're like super in and out.
I think I'm off. Okay, where did I leave off?
Hold
Can you hear
on,
me now?
you back. I just
Okay.
pulled it up on my phone too, just to make sure I can. It wasn't just on my computer. Yeah, you went out there for a minute.
Oh, it was me.
Yep.
All right, where did I leave off? Because I was spitting some fire.
Yeah, I know. So it was just at the very end. You were kind of tying a bow on it. Just meant you were saying you were kind of
Okay, cool. Yeah,
summing up
yeah, yeah, yeah.
mental
So,
models.
so, so, yeah. I mean, to give you know the agents some action steps. One of the biggest things that we came out of was tied to a mental model, which is cost is only an issue in the absence of value. And so the reason why that's an important one is in real estate, when you're talking to potential customers, you have to have the ability to communicate value very quickly. They call these things elevator pitches, unique selling propositions. But I don't know why. Anytime I list something off, I always want to go in threes. There's only two. There's
Jake.
only two there. Yeah, there's only two that I can think of off the top of my head. But the analogy that's given is, hey, if I were to say to you, do you want to buy this car? You'd say, you know, no, I'm not looking for a car right now. Well, it's a Lamborghini. It's $200,000 vehicle. It's brand new. I could sell it to you for $5,000 today because I just want to get it out of my driveway. All of a sudden, you weren't in the market for a car. You might not even have $5,000, but I'll bet you what? I bet you're going to find $5,000 instantly to go buy that car because you know the value of it, right? And so what we had come to as far as a conclusion is that in real estate, one of the biggest factors for success was what, Jake?
In real estate, biggest factor of success. We talked about and we went back and forth on this, but ultimately, like the conversations and the ability to take a conversation and move it along in the process, essentially, right?
Yeah, convert. Yeah, you said
Absolutely.
conversations and I said conversions. But
Right.
but but you can't have one without the other.
Right. Yeah,
So there you go.
chicken and the egg, right? Like, and
Yeah.
that's where it went to okay, but how do you have conversations? You get on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Um, and you make your dials, and people were pretty adamant about that. And like for me, like the mental model that I keep going back to for all of this, like the chief one, the learn like you're gonna live forever type mental model,
That's a good one.
um,
Yeah.
like goes back to like actually wanting to learn, right? Like that ultimate, I don't know everything. I'm never going to know everything. Like I can be humble enough to always be in a position where I can learn from anyone virtually, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That like first one is kind of key, but then like we put this into the presentation recently, but just Tony Robbins quote of, if you want to achieve success, all you have to do is find someone and model someone who's already succeeded.
Another mental model that I've used my entire life. Yeah.
Right. And I think that going around the room, right? You got somebody doing 500, 600 deals, 100 deals, 300 and almost 400 deals a year in the room, and like they all said key turning points in their life was when they like gave not gave up, but just got to the point where they were like, I made a decision. I'm going to find people that have already done this and just model what they're doing, right? And that was like key
What
turning points in their
and let me
not just business life.
let me talk to the internal objection that people would have with that. I think a lot of times we've been taught that in order to have success, you have to be the innovator. You have to be the one that's blazing the trail. You can't do what other people are doing because that's disingenuous, right? Like you're copying at that point. Listen, I just want to get to the success quickly. I want to collapse time. I'm not trying to learn every lesson on my own. One of the things that I want to do is I want to learn from others so that I don't have to make every mistake myself, and yeah, it's the ability to like hang up that ego, but I also feel like it's ingrained in us, like, oh, you have to be the innovator. If you want to do something, you've got to go invent something new for the world. Not Listen, it depends on the business, but not really. Like, find the problem and fix it, and it can be the simplest problem. You know what I mean? Like, if you fix it better than everybody else, then you're going to have success. And in the real estate business, I mean, I think almost every agent, if you surveyed them, would say, yeah, the industry has a lot of broken parts to it. And, there is a lot of room for someone who is looking to be an expert and expertly service their clients and give them, the service that they should have, instead of somebody who doesn't really hone their craft, maybe just got licensed, right? And doesn't have like a path as far as being on a team or having a good coach or what have you, right? To actually deliver that value. And so the industry has a lot of problems for us to be able to solve, even on an individual one-on-one basis with our clients, with the consumer.
Right. Because
Yeah,
it's as you go along the process, there's always somewhere to learn and get better. And like going back to Jim, like he said that he spends 100 hours with each of his agents when they come
that
on.
was mind-boggling. I mean, like, I always
Yeah.
wanted to do that. I just didn't have the um, I guess the grit. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Like
yeah, that's
to
not
actually
easy.
follow
You got to
through with
really
that.
care about your agent's success to do that.
And he
And like,
said
I never
he
saw him as that caring of a guy, so it was shocking to me. Oh, really?
he loves people. He loves his people
He
too.
does. He does. Yeah.
But it's like that he said, I want to collapse 10 years into 2. And that hung with me too, of um like that people, and it goes back to another mental model that I've lived by for a long time now, of Tony Robbins, where he said, people always um underestimate what they can do in 10 years, but overestimate what they can do in I think they say a year.
You got it backwards. Overestimate what they can do in one
In
year.
Yes, but
Underestimate what they can do
underestimate
in
what they
10.
can do in a decade, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
like, and that's so true. Like, think about it. Like a doctor, like that's what you have to put in just in schooling to be able to then get out and start making 150 grand a year, right? If you
Yeah,
did that
or
in real
whatever.
estate where you put that much, the same amount a doctor has to put into becoming a brain surgeon or something, where they're going to make $300,000-$400,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
Like if you put that same amount of effort into your real estate business and you were trying to learn that much and put that much work into it, in 10 years, do you imagine, like, that's a multi-million-dollar a year business that you could create in half of that time if you really dedicated that same amount. You know what I mean?
Well, and a lot of it too. Another mental model. Learned this one from Mike and Jay. When we would go into masterminds, they would say, "Hey, get out of judgment mode and get into learner mode." And I was just talking to a friend the other day about, well, it was Brandon, in fact, here about pastors at church, and I was like, "Man, everybody's always in judgment mode with those guys. If they got a sports suit on or like a suit on, he's like, yeah, they think." People are looking like, oh, you think you're better than me? You think you're fancier than me? And then if the dude has like some blue jeans and a t-shirt on, like, what, you ain't taking this seriously? Like, you just can't win when people are in judgment mode. And it's the same with this. People watch it. I'm sure they judge, like, but if you can get out of that and you can look for the clues, as far as success is concerned, it becomes your habit, and it just becomes who you are, and it serves you so much better. What's
Right.
up?
No, I was just thinking, like I think our chief mental model is that we enjoy mental models. You know what I mean? Like,
You know what? So, like, honestly, we were going to go into conversions on this, and that was like the big back and forth. I was like, well, dude, I mean, I was in the shower, and I was like, look, I think the number one key to success is actually how to think, and that's the difference. I mean, if Jeff Bezos was running Market Maker, I've said this before, like, imagine where it would be, right? Like the things that he knows that I don't know. I mean, hang it up, right?
right.
Like if I could go tap his brain, like, wow, that would be amazing. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
to learn every lesson on my own, right? Yeah. And when it
And
comes to go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, like, I really do believe that it's just when once you succumb to the fact that, like, and it's probably ego, like, and letting that ability to, like, your need to be right, right, like, a lot of people, especially once you start having a little bit of success, like, your need to be right increases in, and it's
Yeah, that's
hard to
for sure.
follow that. But
Well,
it's such another mental model. Check your ego at the door.
uh, I got another one. Oh, I lost it. I lost it. It'll come back. I mean, there's just so many, and they're wonderful. They're wonderful because it's really like a process for how to think. How to see. It's a lens to look through to digest what comes at you in the world, as far as business, finance. I mean, even relationships. I started putting in study to relationships because I'm married, and I was like, man, I put all this study into business. I probably better like pay attention to this, do some studying over there, right? Yeah.
Yep.
But again, what I'm always looking for are those mental models. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's you're finding people that you respect or you see, that are in a position that you would like to be, like Jeff Bezos, right? Like
Oh,
he's
I got it. I got the mental model. Go. Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah. Who you are today is not who you will need to be in order to have the business that you want to have, and run it at that level. And that's like a very humbling thing. Another one. You can do more with others than you can do by yourself. Another humbling thing. Like I always thought, like I could just do it all on my own. I don't need anybody. Not true.
and when you get
No,
when you get around like-minded people, right? Like that was another takeaway from the other weekend, was like it was just cool to be in the room again. Like
right.
obviously
Yeah.
COVID has created a problem for that across the country for every industry, but just
Right.
to be in the room again, like when we were in Nashville before this all started, to be around people that are have the same type of goals and are at different stages, and some are like, ooh, I can help you, but I can also learn from what you're doing, and then other people that are ahead of you that have the same thought, right? Like
Yeah.
you're a few steps ahead of where your business is at, and it's like, okay, this is the stuff I can help you with, but ooh, you're doing that's genius, I'm gonna just do that too. And that kind of like it just is that propellant that just kind of keeps, that's probably not a real word, but that just keeps propelling
Makes a
you,
point. Makes a point, regardless. Yeah.
it just
No, you're
keeps
100%
you
spot on, Jake.
going
And
forward.
here's the thing: like, if you even before I ever had any kind of access to anything like that or saw value in it, because it's scary to do those type of things. Generally, there's money involved, but some of the smartest people that have lived and done big things have written books that you can read for $5. I mean, you can read them for free from the library and go turn them back in. So it just depends on your mindset, and I think that I think that the takeaway is the mindset needs to be constantly seeking and learning and being open minded to always looking for a better way. You know, sometimes good enough is good enough, right? So you don't need to obsess, but it just depends on where you're at and what you want to accomplish. Um, you know, but for me, like you asked me about our conversion rate, you're like, what's the goal? And I was like, well, at least this. And you're like, really? Like, yeah, why not?
Right.
Yeah.
And it always starts for like I think any business book that you go back and read, like figuring out, like so many like start with your why and all that fun stuff. Like you have to start with a goal, you have to put a plan in place, and then execute, and then learn, and then execute again, and then learn, and then execute and learn until you get there. You know what I mean? And it's a process, and it's a painful process when you haven't downloaded some mental models of you don't have to be the one that's going to have the arrows in the back, being the first
Oh yeah,
like
that's a good.
trailblazer, right? um
Mm-hmm.
like there's nothing currently that I have wanted to accomplish that hasn't been done before. So
Well,
like,
and the truth is this. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. I'm not an
I,
astronaut, or I'm not trying to go to Pluto or something.
right? Well, the truth is this: generally, in those spaces where there are no one, where there is no one, there's no money. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be the first trailblazer in your market to focus on condos, with you don't have any condos there. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
there ain't no money there. Or maybe you got like two condo developments, and the rest is all single family, and you're specializing in condo. That's a bad move. A lot of times, I've seen. The Homes for Heroes people, like, oh, we only specialize and focus on vets. Well, like, have you ever done the math or the market research to find out how many of those actually purchase in your market to see if that's a market that you can even serve
Right.
locally? Like, if you don't live by a military base of some sort, then there's probably, what I mean, like, not going to be a very viable model, right? And so I always like to go where there's some money as far as the
Right.
market is
and
concerned.
and
So,
and
yeah,
like they're always like would not be in the trailblazers. I always think of CVS, their story about how they pick locations.
I assume it's right across the street from Walgreens always,
Yeah,
and they
they
go in
they
with lower
do. So,
prices.
right. So Walgreens had already done all the market research on where it was, how to locate it. They try to be on corners because
Yeah,
then you can get people pulling in from both
both
streets on
sides.
the right,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah,
you got more signage too.
right.
And then the layout of the stores, all that fun stuff. CVS came in behind them and was like, okay, so they did the research and they put them there. So I guess we'll just go close to every single Walgreens, which is why there's always one really close to it. But the work's already been done.
Well, and you're chopping up a little bit. Oh, can you hear me? You were
Yep.
slowing. It was like buffering or something. We good?
Yep.
Yeah. So the other thing is, you can look at the sales tax revenue in a lot of cities, and find out exactly what their top line is. So, like my brother and sister in law that have a franchise, that's one of the things that they do for market research. So they go look because they're in the Culver's business. They usually look at the McDonald's. They know what they're doing. And they know what they're going to do based on that. And the cool thing about real estate is in each market, like, we tell each other, what our volume is, how many transactions. You can just take that by, in most markets around 3% and know what their top line revenue is. And the thing for me that's always been really helpful, someone else do it. If I see someone else is doing it, I know I can figure it out too, because they're just a human, just like me, and they have all the same challenges humans have, and so they figured something out that I haven't figured out yet, and I'll tell you what, I'm gonna get close,
Right.
and
And
sometimes
that's
I'm
what Kinder always attributed a lot of his success in Lawton to, like, because he got the 200 deals, whatever. But like to get to 500, I like the drive to beat Pam and Barry, like, which is like a top Remax team, was great. So I mean, he was doing 500 deals in Lawton, Oklahoma, but wasn't the number one person. He was number 2 in the world for Coldwell Banker, but not number 1 in his own market in Oklahoma. You know what I mean? Like, that's weird.
That is weird. But
But
I guess
it
with
was that
franchises,
right? It was that driving force, but you know that person is like, it's possible, right? So there's no doubt that you can do it. And if you meet the people and you're like, yeah, obviously beat them, you know what I mean? Like, if you have some confidence, some borderline arrogance or whatever it may be, like, you can never accomplish something you don't believe is possible, right? So
yeah.
That's where you start. You start with the belief. Like, if there's no belief, then it's not ever going to happen, no matter how
Oh,
hard you try.
another mental model I got from a movie. He said, "What one man can do, another can do," and I always love that. Right? I forget the name of the movie. He kills that bear. I did have that one smashed by my dad. He said, "Well, uh, you couldn't run as fast as Usain Bolt or something like that." I was like, "Well, maybe if I put the work in, but I really don't have the desire." You know. But he was just trying to kill that mental model.
There
But
is
if
some
you use
minor
it,
limitation.
yeah, no, I think as far as business is concerned, it's 100% accurate. You know, sometimes timing and quite a bit of luck does have a lot to do with those type of things. But you're not going to get there if you don't start trying. And you want to start trying if you see somebody else doing it because you think that you can do it too. And that's just how the whole thing goes. Anyway, a lot of good mental models. At the end of the day, the biggest takeaway that I want everybody to have is that cost is only an issue in the absence of value. So the cost for the consumer, if you're talking to them on the phone, would be their time, right, in meeting with you, or possibly missing out on working with another agent that might be able to have more value. So you need to have prepared value propositions, pitches, elevator pitches, ability to communicate your value in probably 15 to 30 seconds, very quickly and clearly, so that they can say, "Aha! If I do business with Jake, X, Y, and Z is going to happen for me, and I'm interested in X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to, consider doing business with Jake, right? Above all the other options, which is competitors." That's the big mental model takeaway. If you don't have those, go back and watch some of our past lives. We got a ton of them on value propositions, on scripts, on things of that nature. If you're already a client of Market Maker, reach out to us. We'll give you the one script that you need. It's very simple. It's like, one page, big letters. Just read that thing to the customers that we put you on the phone with, and they will come and meet with you. It works like magic. It's a wonderful thing.
It is a wonderful thing, and just do it, right? Like, find the people that you can download mental models from. Listen, consume as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Put together a plan. Have a goal. I love it.
Yeah. The one that I teach my son is we do the right thing. If I say why, he'll say because it's right. We do the right thing because it's right. That's right, son. That's right. It's good to teach your kids these mental models if you have kids too. Anyway, let's wrap it up, Jake.
Yes,
We're out of
sir.
time. Yeah.
So, before we do you have anything?
Oh, yeah. If you want some help with this stuff, go to marketmakercall.com. Check us out. How about that? I'll make it short and sweet today.
There you go. So, as we always say at Market Maker, you are always just one preposition appointment away.
Every day.
Make
it a great day.
Go get it.
Later.